Usual suspect. It's good to be back on this beautiful Wednesday morning, 3 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m. down here in Kampala. A beautiful and sunny day out there, if we are being honest. And I hope you do join us for this Wednesday morning sport edition, where we'll be speaking about, I'll be giving you the result updates from the African Nations Championship. We'll be talking about transfers and more things from that line. And the reason for that is because we are edging closer and closer to the end of this summer transfer window. And, a lot is happening. A lot is happening. We may not be able to actually digest it all, but at least we'll be bringing you the key stories from that and a little more. So for those of you that were part of our broadcast last night, thank you so much for sparing the time to be with us. I think I was with Pedri. Is it? I'm forgetting the other name. I'm forgetting the one of the other persons. One of our, dominant supporters, if not usual suspect, really. So thank you so much for every single one of you that managed to be part of that broadcast yesterday. Like I said, it's always a pleasure to be back on here with you, my beautiful people, to bring you the latest from the world of football, from the world of sport. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this episode of updating you on what's happening on the transfer scene. Yuvis Pisoma is on his way to Galatasaray. We're going to be discussing a little bit about that. Yeah, so many things are happening in as far as the transfer window is concerned. And you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised what the window has to offer, especially in this latter stage, because that's when teams get decisive. And Newcastle have had another bid rejected as they continue in their pursuit for a striker. It's just not happening for them, unfortunately. It's not happening for them. One would argue that by now they should have found a breakthrough in these kinds of things, but it's just not happening for them. It's not. And you really can't blame them. You honestly can't blame them. And the reason for that is because it's not like you're going to blame them for a lack of effort or for a lack of trying. They have tried. They have given it their all, and yet it's not going their way still. So the question is, why is that the case? Now, one would argue it's about, like in the sporting director at ETC, that, they came into the transfer window without that. We'll be speaking about updates, by the way, from the EFL Cup, or that's the Carabao Cup. A couple of Premier League teams knocked out. Manchester United are going to be in action today against Grimsby. But like I was saying about Newcastle, it's not like they've not tried. They've tried. It has nothing to do with the money. And I get, because for all the players that they've missed out on, majority of them they've lost to some of the big rivals within the top ranking teams in Europe. And so you can hardly criticize them for doing so or for that. So, but it is what it is. It is what it is. But like I said, the EFL Cup is returning once again tonight. Good morning, Pedri. How are you doing, my brother? How is your beautiful morning? So the EFL Cup is returning. We will be looking at that. But quickly, let's begin with the results from the African Nations Championships, where Madagascar reached the semi-finals after beating up against Sudan by 0-0. They finished that game with a manless. That's for Madagascar, while Morocco and Senegal shared the spoils in a 1-1 draw, after which Morocco advanced on penalties. 5-3. So to set up a date between we had the semi-finals to set up a final between Morocco and Madagascar. So that final will come on Saturday, 18th August. That's the final between Madagascar and Morocco, while Sudan and Senegal will be in the third place playoff. That game will be played on Friday at 6 p.m. That's at Nambole National Stadium. So that's the quick update from the African Nations Championship. Over here in Uganda, the footballing governing body, that's the Federation of Uganda Football Associations, is busy bickering with Uganda Premier League teams over their proposed new league format. So the Federation of Uganda Football Associations introduced a new league format, which is very, very stupid, by the way. They say their intention is to improve on a competition, but there's no way I see it increasing competition besides, maybe increasing the number of games in a slight way, which could only aid and abet further match fixing and, maybe them earning some bit of more broadcasting rights and, revenue and things like that. So for me, it's not needed. It's not required. It's not like why suddenly the league was desperate for a change, for a review in terms of format. No, what our teams want is money. They want increased money in prize money, gate collections, and which gate collections FIFA wants, that shared with rival teams. They want that shared with the federation itself. Most of our teams operate at a loss. So I don't know who sat down and thought this was a wise thing to introduce. So either way, it's all rubbish, in my opinion. The only things we need to improve is what our teams play for, and we need to be empowering our teams to improve their own infrastructure. So you have a team investing into infrastructure to attract their fans to come and watch them play on a regular basis, and then suddenly you are telling them that they should be sharing their home day revenues with the rival team. I mean, what's that? The reason as why you get to play it home and away is that you equally attract your own crowd, through which you raise your revenue at your own turf, and I do the same on my own turf. It's as simple as that. Let's not dwell into the semantics here. Let's call it for what it is. FIFA just trying to find a way to milk money out of these clubs, which money they're already getting. They already get to about 200 million euros. Sorry, I've had about 200 million shillings from a part of the sponsorship money that is meant for the clubs, under the guise of running activities of the league. Now, anyways, it's very, very frustrating. It's very frustrating. And for those of you that often critique me for about maybe my less spirited passion about Ugandan football, especially when it comes to league football, that is part of it. Suddenly, FIFA wants to take us back to 2012, 2013, when we had two parallel, Premier divisions, and we do not want that. We do not want that. We do not want teams boycotting people. Now, you see, FIFA as a regulator, yes, you provide guidelines, you guide on certain things here and there, but you're not the ultimate decider. So what if we wake up and this team say, no, we're not playing any more football? Then what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Because you're talking about a league that is the feeder of the national team that we just witnessed in the African Nations Championships, losing 2 games, winning 2, and drawing 1. Look at that. So, as stakeholders, instead of consulting them, they sort of briefed them and rushed to conclusions. It's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. I just don't buy into it one bit. I just don't buy into one bit, not for a second, And yet they are trying, really trying so much to put up something that shouldn't be. But anyways, away from that, quickly. Let's go into the results of the EFL Cup from yesterday, and then we'll be looking at the fixtures that are coming your way tonight. Like I said, Manchester United are going to be in action, so look forward to that. Like I said, so many games. We are only at the round 2, the second round of the EFL Cup. That's why it's one too many games. Perhaps you may not be in a position to follow all of them, but they are all happening. But Reading knocked out Wimbledon by 2-1. Cambridge United knocked out a Charlton Athletic. Wolverhampton Wanderers knocked out West Ham United after beating them 3-2. I saw there was a bit of an altercation, an exchange of fire words between Gerard Bowen and some of the West Ham United supporters, after which he did apologize on his social media in the aftermath of that spat. But again, it's a frustration of a player versus frustration of the fans who is tired of seeing their team always finding themselves at the losing end of things. It's simple as that. You know, if West Ham had won, I do not think they would have had the first that they did have. Anyways, Bournemouth were knocked out at the hands of Brentford. Bournemouth were at home, but were beaten by 2-0. In that Wolves game, Wolves took the lead. West Ham found the equalizer, and then they found the difference through Lucas Paqueta, who made it 2-1. But then Jürgen Strand-Larsen, who is a target for Newcastle, scored 2 quick goals to ensure that West Ham were knocked out of that competition. Majority of them are small teams. Sunderland shared the spoils in a 1-all draw with Huddersfield Town, and then Huddersfield Town managed to advance 6-5 on penalties that proceeded that 1-all draw. Remember, they've done away with if you draw a game, then you get to play a return leg you play a reverse fixture with the other team. So Leeds United were equally knocked out at 3-0 on penalties that followed a 1-all draw in that regard. The Yellow Diac, currently attending a funeral, so I can't hear you properly. Oh, apologies on that. Sorry for whoever the funeral it is that you're attending, but may their souls rest in eternal peace. But I do understand. I do understand if that is the case. Then Millwall knocked out Coventry City at 2-1. Swansea and Plymouth Argyle. Swansea, advanced on penalties. Southampton knocked out Norwich, beating them 3-0. Wrexham knocked out Preston North End by beating them 3-2. Stoke City were knocked out by Bradford City by 3-0. So Lincoln City beat Burton Albion 1-0. So among other results. So, like I said, still at only the second round, and that second round does continue today. Like I said, Manchester United are in action, so here are the games to come. Everton at 9:45 p.m. will be up against Mansfield Town. Fulham will be up against Bristol City, same kickoff time. Oxford United are going to be up against Brighton and Hove Albion, while Grimsby are going to be hosting Manchester United. In that game, a must-win game for Manchester United. I mean, there should be no excuses whatsoever. It doesn't matter what kind of team Ruben Amorim fields. It shouldn't matter who plays. It shouldn't matter where they are playing. They just have to win. They just need to win. And the reason for that, they need to just get that winning feel of the season to get on sort of the momentum. Thank you. The funeral I'm attending is my friend's father, who is also a Chelsea fan like me, so I'm paying my respects. Oh, may his soul rest in peace, and extend our sincere condolences to your friend about his loss. May God, I do not know if you believe us, but may God, or whichever you believe in, may you be strengthened in this difficult moment. But yeah, greetings to your Chelsea fan, your Chelsea comrade as well there. So anyways, in the other fixtures that are going to be coming your way, this is in the Spanish La Liga. We do have Celta Vigo will be up against Real Betis. Do not miss out on that action. And then we will have the UEFA Conference League qualifiers, Riga against Sparta Praha. That action is also on. UEFA Europa League. Also, we have Larnaca up against Brann. That fixture is also coming. And then also in the UEFA Champions League qualifiers, Carabao against Ferencváros. While Benfica will be up against Fenerbahce. Very, very entertaining game. I think we should be looking forward to. I think I should watch the game between Fenerbahce and Benfica alongside the game between Manchester United and Grimsby Town. So if the opportunity allows it, then FC Basel will be away to Copenhagen. Basel will be up against Copenhagen, while Club Brugge are going to be up against the Rangers. Thank you, bro. I would like to promote you to them. Romano is not reliable anymore. Fabrizio Romano. I don't know. he's come under some bit of criticism here and there, but I mean, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. But thank you so much for always promoting me amongst your peers and your families. I really, really do appreciate that, the Yellow Diak. I thank you for the effortless work that you do in that regard whenever you have the opportunity. So, anyways, away from those games, Newcastle have had a second bid rejected for Jürgen Strand Larsson. I mean, like I said, Newcastle are really, really pushing to sign a striker, actually to sign strikers. Their ideal situation was to sign 2 strikers in this transfer window so that then they can allow Alexander Isak to leave. But unfortunately, that's not really, really happening. They miss out on so many targets when it comes to strikers or forward players. Brian Bomo, Liam Delap, João Pedro, Hugo Ekitike, Benjamin Sesko, they've missed out on all those. And they really tried to push to sign Yohan Wissa. Their last bid was of £35 million plus £5 million in guaranteed fees to Brentford, but Brentford declined that offer for the 28-year-old DRC striker who has told the club that he wants to leave and play UEFA Champions League football with Newcastle. You will be famous, trust the process. I mean, that's why I'm taking it slow and easy. The other day, I had somebody come onto the broadcast, and there were just not too many people, and he was asking me, "Why do you continue to speak when there's almost nobody watching?" And I'm like, even if it's one person, I'll serve that one person, and that one person is the one that will will mention me in other circles, if they find my content worthy of listening to. So. Yeah, indeed, it's a process. So I'm choosing to trust the process as well. So Newcastle continue in their pursuit. I do not know whether they will be making a late return for Yohan Wissa, but apparently Brentford value the player at £60 million, £60 million for a 28-year-old striker who only scored his first 19 goals last season. I mean, that will be quite a huge financial outlay. For example, look at Arsenal. They're getting the criticism for investing 60 million pounds in a 27-year-old attacker, and what makes you think that Yohan Wissa should be worth more than be worth 60 million pounds? Now, I understand that the nature of valuation of players is very subjective because the owner gets to set the price in that kind of sense. But it was only the second time that Yohan Wissa was scoring at 10 plus goals in a campaign. For the last 4 seasons in the Premier League, his first 2 campaigns, he scored 7 goals. 2023-2024 scored 12 goals for Brentford, and last season scored 19. Then suddenly, apparently, we're talking about a player who apparently had been promised could be let go for about £26 million, and now they've offered £35 million, and they're still not budging because they want 60. Now, I know Newcastle are desperate really for an attacker, they're desperate for a striker, but investing £60 million in Yohan Wissa, for me, is not worth it. When you look at players, especially when it comes to players whose commercial value, especially in your expectations of returns on commercial value in terms of sales and adverts and things like that, how they further your brand as a club, when that valuation is too low and you have no future sell. For example, Yohan Wissa, you sign him and put him on a 4-year contract, and he's 32. After 32, no club is going to pay maybe £20 million for him. So that's, if you want to protect your value in the future, it's not going to be in Yohan Wissa. So you look at that and you think to yourself, no, it's not worth it. You'd rather invest all that money in Jürgen Strand Larsson. At least for him, he's 25. If you put him on a 5-year contract, 3 years down the road, because he does turn 26 in February next year. If you put him on a 5-year contract, that means in 3 years' time, when he still has 2 years left to his contract, he will be 28, and he will still be a worth of value, depending on how he does perform for Newcastle. But anyways, he's also not too old in the Premier League. He did join Wolverhampton Wanderers last season on loan, and I don't know. his performances were not good. Yes, last season on loan. He was on loan. He scored 14 goals and provided 4 assists. That's a 14-goal involvement, and that's a very, very good, a promise, very, very promising talent, by the way. And I know people have him as one of their strikers in their fantasy football, campaigns. And now he scored a brace yesterday. So I was only permanently signed him this summer. So why would they be inclined to sell? The manager, Vita Pereira, said, they have no inclination to sell, but he does acknowledge that every player has his price. Every player has their price. He said that the player is not going to try and push a move or force an exit because he's happy at Wolves, but they will see. Anything can happen. Basically, Newcastle just have to cough up the money. If they were willing to pay 82.5 million euros for Benjamin Sesko, who scored 13 goals in the German Bundesliga last season, why are they not willing to pay a similar fee for Strand Jürgen Larsson, who scored 14 goals in the campaign last season in the Premier League? That's the kind of player you're looking at. Apologies on that. I hope we do not get straight for that music. The background, it's in my ringtone. A friend of mine is trying to holler at me, and unfortunately, I cannot pick up that call because it's a video call. Anyways, so you have that, but Newcastle have made another bid last night worth £55 million for Strand Jürgen Larsson. That second bid was turned down by Wolverhampton Wanderers. Remember, their first bid was £50 million. Apparently, they are looking at something in the ballpark of about 70 to 75 million pounds. That's what could possibly turn their heads if a sale is to be sanctioned in that regard. So, like I said, Newcastle's failure to get a striker has not been due to lack of an effort. They've really given it that goal. It's just not happened for them the way they had hoped. Then West Ham United have reignited their interest in Botafogo goalkeeper Jean Victor in a surprise move. €10 million deal was agreed in principle before West Ham instead turned to Mads Hermansen in a deal driven by Graham Potter. West Ham now working on a loan with buy option. Now, again, you've just signed a goalkeeper. You still have Alfonso Areola on your books, unless you're saying Alfonso Areola is going to leave. But maybe the early signs that they've seen in Jürgen Strand Larsson, the early signs they've seen in Mads Hermansen have not really helped them the way they had hoped. And it's still early. There are not many goals. I do not think that goals is considered and it was his fault. But let's wait and see. A lot of business is expected in the final days of the transfer window. But yeah, John Victor is a goalkeeper that West Ham are pursuing. And then also Raheem Sterling has been linked with a potential move to Besiktas, but those reports, what we gather, are wide of the mark. It's not really happening. It's not really happening. Then quickly, Juvis Bissouma is set to join Galatasaray on a season-long loan with an obligation to buy. He does leave Tottenham Hotspur, where he joined from Brighton and Hove Albion. I think that was at the genesis of the 2023-2024 campaign. Then Chelsea are really interested in signing Barcelona attacking midfielder Fermin Lopez. So 50 million euros is what is thought could tempt Barcelona into selling. And yesterday we were chatting up with Pedri, the Spanish best Barcelona fan, the Spain best Barcelona fan, and he was telling us that Joan Laporta will be open to a sale at that fee, although the final word is with Hansi Flick, who does not want to lose the player. Excuse me. Chelsea are still assessing whether to move, but no club-to-club contact as of yet. Then quickly, Alexander Isak has no plans to reintegrate or play for Newcastle again. This has been made clear in a meeting for months. A player position may not change at all, but certainly not with the window open. Isaac would only consider a softened stance if Liverpool tell him a move is impossible this summer. Liverpool won't offer any more anywhere close to 150 million pounds if a second bid arrives. The club know if they are the only suitor, then they will stick to their valuation. Now, again, this is like I said, if I'm Newcastle, I hold to my guns. I'm not selling. I'm not selling. Not for 110 million pounds for Alexander Isak. No, not one bit. Stick to your guns. Keep the player. Let him vote in the results for all we care until his attitude changes, or you look to integrate him back into the main squad after the transfer window is closed, after the international break, and we'll go from there. Then you never know. Next summer, other suitors could come, and it's not just Liverpool. And then you have sort of a war chest on your hands in terms of a bidding war. Then also, Real Betis are still working on that deal for Anthony. No agreement has been reached yet in place, but talks continue between Real Betis and Manchester United for Anthony, hoping that a deal can be struck. And then Chelsea also are expected to sign Alejandro Garnacho despite seeing multiple bids are rejected. Clubs are likely to reach an agreement this week. Terms in place for Garnacho. Chelsea focused on other outgoings as well, including Tariq George to Roma. Roma have proposed a loan deal for Tariq George, although Chelsea have changed their stance that they want a permanent transfer, opposed to what their earlier submission had been. Then Dortmund did confirm the signing of Canary Chukwuemeka from Chelsea on a 5-year contract in a deal worth about 24 million pounds. So that one is equally happening. Then Danny Ings is set to join Sheffield United ahead of a proposed move as a free agent after leaving West Ham United. That one is happening. Then Newcastle have apparently been offered the chance to sign Dusan Vlahovic from Juventus. However, sources in Italy say that Juventus raised Vlahovic as a potential replacement for Liverpool target Alexander Isak. Juventus are willing to accept an offer of around 30 million euros in order to get the Serbian striker off their wage bill. So again, that's another moving piece of that puzzle. Then on the side of Arsenal, they are still assessing that offer, and negotiations continue between Arsenal and FC Porto over the transfer of Jakub Kiwior. That's the 25-year-old Polish left-footed centre back that they are really pushing for. FC Porto had a big turn down in July. Their proposal is an initial loan deal with an obligation to buy for FC Porto to sign the player. But we'll wait and see how everything will span out. Then that deal is expected to go through. However, apparently, before Arsenal sanction a move, they want to be sure that they are getting Piero Hincap from Bayer Leverkusen, because their deal, their proposal to Bayer Leverkusen, as well as the negotiations that are continuing over that 60 million euro release clause, which they do not want to pay, is that they get the player on an initial season long loan with an obligation to buy. So if Arsenal get a green light on the Bayer Leverkusen side, then they will have no perhaps qualms whatsoever sanctioning a move for Jakub Kiwior. Previously, they've been also linked with the potential move for Jeremy Jacquet. They're from France, but looks like they are making advances to Piero Hincap, who has been also targeted before by Chelsea, but is also a target for rivals at Tottenham Hotspurs. Then AC Milan have approached Adrien Rabiot's camp, but there is no talks over swap deal with Ismail Benassia. Their talks are ongoing with Olympique Marseille. Then also, Dani Ceballos is keen on a move to Olympique Marseille, as he wants to guarantee regular playing time given ahead of the FIFA World Cup in 2026. Then also Napoli are working on details for Rasmus Højlund ahead of that proposed move, which is an initial loan deal with an obligation to buy for Rasmus Højlund. That's the 22-year-old Danish striker from Manchester United. Napoli are really keen on him. Remember, they did sign Lorenzo Luca from Udinese, but then Romelu Lukaku suffered that bad injury that is ruled him out for about 3 to 4 months. So they thought they should dip their toe back into the transfer window and get themselves another striker. So Rasmus Højlund is the player they are targeting. Initially, AC Milan were in for him, but AC Milan have since cooled down their interest over failed terms. Then Yeremy Pino is on the verge of completing that move from Villarreal to Crystal Palace in a deal that is worth about 30 million euros, while West Ham have distanced themselves from reports linking them with the potential move for Manchester United goalkeeper Andre Onana. So that is also happening. Victor Lindelof is in negotiations with Fiorentina over a proposed move that is also being assessed. Then also Carlos Sola is a concrete option for Real Sociedad. Negotiations between the two clubs, that's Paris Saint-Germain and Real Sociedad, do continue, while Wolves are expected to close the door for Wang Hee-chan amidst interest from a couple of Premier League clubs. So that is also happening. Anyways, plenty of that is happening as of this morning in terms of transfers, but we'll keep our eyes peeled to most of those major stories. Guys, do not forget to go to the channel, check out our latest content, especially under the video section, and watch that content. I know many of you have not watched that content. We did discuss Arsenal's injury crisis. We talked about Kai Havertz. There was a video about whether Manchester United will bounce back. I see you guys have not really watched that. Only 8 views. Really, guys, get serious. Go watch that content. Anyways, it's been a pleasure doing this with you this beautiful morning. Thank you so much, the Yellow Duck. Thank you so much, Pedri, and every single one of you that managed to catch this podcast. Have yourselves a blessed day, and we will link up next time. Bye-bye.